Hey guys, so today I'll be discussing the current situation with the NBL finals as that is amongst us at the moment. Last night we saw the Perth Wildcats dominate over the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, with the Phoenix getting an extra life against the winner of the Kings vs Adelaide game tomorrow night. So that will be really interesting to see. And yeah, Bryce Cotton completely stood up to the table, carrying his side as well as Pinder, having a phenomenal performance for the Wildcats there. So it'd be really interesting to see who the winner of the Kings vs 36ers, who wins that particular game, as they'll go on to face the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix for the position against the Illawarra Hawks. So, personally speaking, I think the Illawarra Hawks are still going to make the finals, regardless of whoever wins between the Kings, 36ers, as well as the winner of that game against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. So, as we come a little bit into the awards for the NBL, this always happens before the finals, and it's great to see and acknowledge all the players that have played and performed throughout the whole season, as well as coaches and all the management from particular clubs across the Australian League. So if we look a little bit more in terms of the Illawarra Hawks, they've had a phenomenal season. Their main man, Justin Tatum, wins the Coach of the Year. Basically, he's the father of Jason Tatum in the Boston Celtics, and he decided to take up a contract in the NBL and put his face on the map and get recognised. So he's been a fantastic coach for the boys over there in Illawarra. I personally have a soft spot for that particular team, not only because they have a lot of history with the BNZ Breakers, but also in the fact that have gone through... they used to be called the Wollongong Hawks, and then they amalgamated into the Illawarra Hawks further on into the NBL history. So that's great as a club for Illawarra to have them recognise their coach as Coach of the Year. It's also great that they won the minor premiership this regular season, and they automatically go into the semis with a 3-game series against whoever wins the Phoenix and the winner of Kings Adelaide. So as we come a little bit more into the other teams that the NBL decided to award, Bryce Cotton has just been fantastic for the Perth Wildcats. I mean, personally, I don't know what you think about Bryce Cotton, but he has been my favourite player, stand out in terms of watching other players from other teams. And I think that's also been due to the fact that since I am such a passionate fan of the Breakers, our most rival team is the Perth Wildcats, and it is very heartbreaking to, have a caliber superstar like Bryce Cotton putting 50 points on your team on your home court. I mean, come on, seriously, that's just ridiculous. But, a player like him, point guard, a shooting guard, small player, and knows how to shoot the ball and find those offensive lanes for his 4 other players in the squad. It just goes to show that that's a leadership caliber player in the team, and no doubt that he won his 5th NBL MVP award this season. So, if Perth goes all the way in the championship and they play either the Hawks or the winner of Hawks, who wins that semi-final between the Hawks and their opponent, I personally think that it'll be a tight series there, but if Perth were to go on to win another championship, they would be actually the most successful NBL side in history, and they would also go on the tally to add to their trophy cabinet. So in sense of that, they would be the best professional NBL side in the league, and they would also highly likely have Bryce Cotton winning the finals MVP again for Perth Wildcats. So yeah, if we go into a little bit more of the details there, we look at the best defensive player. So Shea Ili for Melbourne United. So Melbourne United actually got one of their players as an award this season. And he used to play for the Breakers, a fantastic defensive player, great on steals and blocks there as well, but he just knows how to find those defensive reads for his team. And no doubt that's the reason why Melbourne United has been consistently performing with the NBL squad and in the competition under Dean Bickerman's leadership. So a fantastic squad. There's been a bit of scrutiny in terms of the media under the refs and the players, and they had that unfortunate circumstance with Adelaide 36ers with the fans against Montrezl Harrell early in the season. But personally, I think, Dean Vickerman, he's won us, a championship with the Breakers, and he's been phenomenal under the leadership and guidance with the management at Melbourne United. So I mentioned briefly the Coach of the Year, that was Justin Tatum for the Hawks. Another standout player that the NBL decided to actually award this season was the Best Six-Man Award. Now, I don't know if you've seen, movies about that sixth man. There was actually a movie, I think in the late 1990s, early 2000s, that one of the six-man superstars unfortunately had a freak accident, and then he came back into the team as a ghost, and he performed and helped that team as a spirit to get their chemistry and to win a chip. So this was I can't remember what the movie was called, but I do recall one of those scenes. That's why I'm relaying that to you. Yeah, so Kwat Noi from the Sydney Kings, big man. Honestly, he's just been fantastic for the Kings. And the Kings, if they're going to go a long way into the playoffs and have a deep run and go to the finals, it's going to have to start with, Kwat Noi as well as Xavier Cooks and other players in the Kings. Yeah, so in terms of that, they're going to have to rely on their big man, Kwat Noi, against the 36ers, and yeah, they had to win at least 2 games in order to actually make the semis. So it's a really tough ask if I am to say one. If you get place 5 and 6, it's elimination. And so you're basically having to play 2 games in order to make a finals berth, which is the semis in this particular competition. Sydney Kings also actually got another award as part of the NBL, and this was the Next Generation Award. So this award, in my eyes, is to the players that are starting out their careers at a young age, being 18 to the age of 20. It's also recognition for those players, and Alex Tohi has actually been a phenomenal player for the Sydney Kings. And he's actually got his firm sights set on the NBA. Only at 20 years old, he's getting picked up, and he's been a phenomenal player. He's been a phenomenal player for the Kings throughout the season, and playing quite some quality minutes for the team there. Mind you, the Brisbane Bullets, they managed to get a player in the NBL awards, and this was the section where I personally thought that Kareem Lopez from the BNZ Breakers would have actually got recognised there, but unfortunately the NBL decided to go with the Brisbane Bullets. And in my honest opinion, I don't actually follow the Bullets. I don't really know anything about this particular player here. But in terms of this, the NBL decided to award this award to Tyrell Harrison, a big man for the Bullets, who actually took a major leap this season and developed into one of the core places despite an injury-riddled season. So personally, I think they gave the most improved player to this particular player in the season. Yes, they came 8th place out of 10th on the ladder, but because they were just so riddled with injuries, and he was very consistent going onto the court, they decided to give it to him because of the run that Brisbane Bullets actually had at the back end of the season. They could have made the 6th spot, so that could have been also another reason as to why they decided to go ahead with some talent from the Brisbane Bullets. And one other thing that I'll also mention is that as much as I don't follow the Bullets, I do know that my all-time favourite three-point shooter, mid-range shooter, dreads, bald head, is CJ Bruton. He was fantastic for the Breakers, and he's actually helping the Brisbane Bullets on the assistant coaching side of things with management there. Right, let's go into the last final bits of the segment. So, fantastic to have, 2 players from the Hawks in the first All-NBA team. You got Tyler Harvey and Trey Carroll III. So, the front court, middle court, 2 players from there. They also got another player in the All-NBL second team, that being Sam Froling, so one of their big men. As an organisation for the Hawks, winning the minor premiership, they'd be absolutely wrapped with having, 3 players from their squad, being in that first and second NBL team. Like anything, Bryce Cotton is definitely going to be in the first NBL team. Phenomenal performances. You also have Matt Hirth from Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Kendrick Davis has actually been phenomenal from the Adelaide 36ers. Whether or not he steps up to the table against the Kings this week, in order to prevent elimination from the playoffs and to have another chance against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. In order to get to the semis, it'll be heavily relied on Montrezl Harrell and Kendrick Davis for the 36ers. Quite surprising to see Xavier Cooks in the Sydney Kings, from the Sydney Kings squad in the second NBL team. Maybe that's due to some suspension or injury or just not performing throughout the season, but the Kings managed to actually be, in the top 4 throughout the season, but they slipped down to about 5th overall in the end of the regular season standings. So it'll be interesting to see, in the finals, based on these awards for both the first team and second team and the defensive player, as well as the most improved and MVP, who's going to win it this season. So, yeah, there'll be more awards to come in another segment on that. So, thanks, team.